So my plan was to review Widows, edit it and publish the video yesterday, but this turned up in the post, and I mean, to be fair, can you blame me? Mini review actually on this. If you're a fan of Batman the Animated Series, get this instantly because it looks incredible, like it's such a good set. Anyway, Widows.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Starring amongst others, and I'm going to have to be selective as there's a lot of people in this movie. Viola Davis, Michelle Rodriguez, Elizabeth Debicki, Cynthia Erivo, Colin Farrell, Daniel Kaluuya and Liam Neeson. Directed by Steve McQueen off a screenplay he wrote alongside Gillian Flynn. This is my review for Widows. So Widows is the story of a group of widows. Their husbands are all professional criminals and they all die in a botched job, a job that goes very, very wrong. They find that their husbands have stolen money from some very, very bad people and their lives are now in danger. So the only thing they can do is pull off what was going to be their husband's next job to steal $5 million. And the first thing about Widows that has to be mentioned is how good the performances are, because everybody in this movie is great. But there is nobody that feels even slightly miscast. Everybody feels like the perfect person to be chosen for this particular role. But by far the standout of this is Viola Davis. She is so good in this role, and her arc that she gets given is perfect. It's done absolutely perfectly. And it doesn't actually resolve the arc, like the arc doesn't reach an end until literally the final shot of this film. It's such clever filmmaking, it's such a clever way to end the movie. The film just ends on just a really memorable but small, subtle note, and it just complements that character, as I say, absolutely perfectly. She's the best thing in this movie by quite some way, and that's saying something because everybody in this film is good. As I said, nobody puts a foot wrong in it, so to single her out and say she's the best just goes to show just how great she actually is. And the story itself is quite an engaging one, particularly when Widows focuses on the heist aspect, because this is billed as a heist movie. That's kind of in the summary of what this movie is, that it is a heist film, and the heist is very, very good. The only thing is, it's quite brief. It's not as involved as I thought it was going to be. Like, we get a lot of the build-up to it, but the actual heist itself is a very, very brief sequence. It doesn't go on for overly long, and that's probably for the best, actually, because it feels rushed in a good way. It feels like they're just panicking and trying to get in and out as quickly as possible. It's done really, really well. The tension's built up, the danger feels real, and you're never sure whether they're going to go ahead and do this. But that's not the only story in Widows. There are many different stories throughout this film, and that's kind of to its detriment in a way, because I don't think enough of the stories got as much time as they should have done. I mean, it's a long movie, yeah. I'm not sure how I would have felt if it was any longer. But it does feel that even though I did enjoy, I say, pretty much every aspect of the stories that we got, a lot of them didn't feel that they were complete. A lot of them didn't feel like they had any kind of resolution to them. It could have done with trimming one or two. For example, Colin Farrell's character, and by the way, he's amazing in this as well. It's the best I've seen Colin Farrell in quite some time. It's a really fun role for him. I really enjoyed him. But he has a very unhappy dynamic with his father, played by Robert Duvall, and we get hints of that. Like, we get the odd scene here and there showing what things are like between them, but we don't get quite enough. And when things reach the end, when we kind of reach the conclusion of this, I don't feel that we got much out of that. That's an aspect of this film that could have been taken out completely, and it wouldn't really have changed all that much. So yeah, it often feels like it's trying to do too many things at the same time. And I don't know how closely this follows the original Widows. So this was a British TV show. So it was a TV show over here back in 1983 that wasn't alive then. I haven't seen it. So I don't know how much they've taken from that and how sort of verbatim they've done this retelling. But yeah, it just could have done with just a few things trimmed out. But that's no reflection on the actors at all. As I say, Daniel Kaluuya, he's a brilliant character in this one. He's very dark. It's a very different kind of role to what I've seen him in before, and he's so good in it. And this is what I mean. Everybody's really, really good. So even if the characters themselves and their individual stories aren't quite as successful as they could have been, they're still great in it. But luckily the main one, the actual heist itself and the story of these women and what they're going through, is done really, really well. And that's kind of what I came in for. I wasn't expecting all of these side plots to be going alongside it, but the main one, the one where it counts, yeah, they nailed it. It's worth pointing out as well, just while I'm talking about the negatives, this movie opens with perhaps the most disturbing kiss I've ever seen in a movie, like ever. It's not nice, it's not loving, it's just genuinely creepy and unsettling. I'm not sure what they were going for with that particular kiss, but it's literally the first thing you see of this movie, and there was audible "ugh" from people who were around us when that scene played, and yeah, it was weird. This seemed a bit of a strange thing to bring up, but it was the style of the movie. It was the first thing that this film showed, and yeah, it was really odd. And there's also a twist in this one as well, and this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to say what that twist is, but there is a sizable twist, a very, very big one that doesn't really feel like it needed to be there at all. It's a very odd one. I'd say it's difficult to really go into it without saying what the twist is, which I won't, but you'll know it when you see it. But it feels as if it was a twist that was put there just so there could be a twist. If that twist wasn't there, like if they didn't do that, it wouldn't really have changed much. Like the story would have carried on pretty much the same as it did. And again, the performances in the twist were really, really good, but there was just nothing really came of it all that much. It was very anticlimactic and, yeah, a little bit unnecessary. But overall, I really, really enjoyed Widows. I think this is a great movie, definitely one that's worth checking out. As I say, those performances in this film, particularly Viola Davis, are so good that it kind of helps to paper over some of the problems. You can kind of turn a blind eye to them when you're seeing acting this great. And yeah, she was so good. In fact, everybody was great in this film. It's the biggest takeaway is how strong the acting was. And I kind of admire how it was directed as well. Steve McQueen is a good director, like we know that. He does some interesting things here. I'm not sure every one of his shots work. Like there's a whole sequence of two people chatting in a car, but instead of seeing them talking, we're just kind of looking at the corner of the car as it drives along. Little weird things like that didn't quite work for me, but on the whole, this film looks great. I think the pace isn't really too much of a problem. There are a few moments where it slows down, but not to the point where I started getting restless, and that can happen to me a lot in films, so I was engaged throughout. Yeah, strong film. Highly recommend going to see Widows. I'm going to give Widows an 8 out of 10. Have you seen Widows? If so, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Do hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more. Plenty of reviews coming soon. We're kind of in another busy time for movies. The Grinch will be next. Not hearing great things about it. I'm hoping I enjoy it. You can follow me on Twitter at JoeJulians, which is also my name on Stardust. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.